Let me tell you about the biggest loser in the entire fruit-eating world. His name is Light. And when I say loser, I mean the kind of guy who probably still has his mom's meatball recipe on speed dial and thinks going outside means walking to the convenience store for more energy drinks. In a world where people gain mythical abilities by eating skill fruits, this dude's big prize was the title of Cucumber Master. Not Sword Saint, not Fist King, Cucumber Master. You know what that means? He can grow pickles magically. That's it. While everyone else is slaying dragons, this nerd is out here worrying about aphids on his tomato plants. The day they were about to unlock their skills, Light and his childhood friend Lena were walking to the church buzzing with excitement. They talked about what kind of abilities they might get. Light had always dreamed of being an adventurer. He was ready to accept any combat skill and make the most of it. Lena wasn't worried about her skill at all. For her, the only thing that mattered was being close to Light. Even though Lena felt a bit insecure, nobody knows what skill you'll get until you bite that fruit. Light remained confident, saying they'd both get something amazing. When they reached the church, Sister Santa explained how skill fruits worked. The moment you take a bite, the skill fixes itself to your body, guaranteeing a path to any job related to it. But there's one unbreakable rule. You can only eat one fruit in your entire life. Try to eat a second and it's instant death. Many people in the past couldn't handle the skill they received and risked eating a second fruit. Every time, it ended in tragedy. Sister Santa made sure to emphasize this point. One fruit keeps you alive. Hearing that, Lena felt a bit shaken by how dangerous the fruits really were, but Sister Santa calmed her down, saying that as long as she followed the rules, nothing bad would happen. With the warnings given, it was time to make their choices. Lena went first. She picked a fruit and took a bite. Immediately, her body began to glow with powerful energy. Her body heated up intensely, and it was clear something big was happening. That's when Sister Santa realized what Lena had unlocked. She had acquired the legendary Sword Saint skill. This skill was so rare that Sister Santa never thought she'd see it in person. But now, with the title of Sword Saint secured, Lena was about to become one of the greatest adventurers in the entire country. Light was proud of Lena and praised her for getting such an incredible skill. But now it was his turn. He approached the fruit bowl, picked a skill fruit, and took a deep breath before biting into it. He didn't expect anything as legendary as the Sword Saint skill, but he held out hope for a solid combat ability. The moment the skill flowed into his body, he felt disappointed to realize it was nothing more than a fruit vendor. Sister Santa did her best to be encouraging, but the only battles Light would be fighting were against birds trying to steal his crops. Devastated, Light's dreams of becoming an adventurer seemed completely destroyed. He asked if there was any chance of trying another fruit, but Sister Santa immediately refused. The risk of instant death was too high, and she wasn't going to let him risk his life. Lena tried to cheer him up, saying she was willing to stay in the village and farm, no matter what they did, as long as they were together. But Sister Santa quickly shut that down. Lena's Sword Saint skill was a gift that appears once a decade, and she wasn't going to let Lena waste it on farming. She insisted that Lena become an adventurer for the good of the country, and went further, announcing that she would accompany her to the royal capital immediately to begin her training. Lena couldn't find the courage to stand up to Sister Santa, so she was dragged away, but not before promising Light that she would come back to him one day. 3 months passed, and Light was doing what he could to adjust to his new life. He was putting all his energy into farming, using his skill to grow large grapes. When they were ready, he took them to town to sell and make some money. Life wasn't terrible, but it wasn't what he imagined. He was constantly pushing thoughts about what could have been to the back of his mind. On one of his trips to town, he saw a poster with news about Lena. Turns out she'd been promoted to S rank in just 3 months and was doing very well as an adventurer. He was proud of her, but seeing her rise so high made him feel like he'd hit rock bottom. Even knowing that his skill wasn't suited for adventuring, Light hadn't stopped training every day, hoping to unlock something that could help him. He spent hours striking a tree trunk, telling himself that if he could cut it in half with a sword, that would prove he was strong enough to become an adventurer on his own terms. Hard work doesn't always bring rewards. And for Light, all that training resulted only in bruised knuckles and a battered spirit. He fell to the ground, wondering if Lena still thought about him. She said she would come back to him, but with all the fame and fortune she'd accumulated, he wouldn't be surprised if his name and face were just distant memories to her. At that moment, a little girl named 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐿 approached with a glass of water for him. 𝐂𝐨𝐿 had been part of Light's life for a while. The village chief didn't want to deal with her, so one day he just left her at Light's door. Light saw she had nowhere to go, so he took her in. They'd been living together ever since, trying to figure out life one day at a time. 𝐂𝐨𝐿 warned that dinner was ready and asked if he was coming inside to eat. Light didn't need to be told twice. He took the first bite and 𝐂𝐨𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 started asking how the harvest went today. Light said the profits were decent, especially since he'd been working harder to grow skill fruits lately. He hurried to add that he'd separated those fruits into boxes marked with skull emojis, making it clear they were dangerous and forbidden. 𝐂𝐴 didn't know that skill fruits were dangerous, so Light's warning was a good idea, or at least it would have been an hour ago. Turns out 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 had used some of those fruits to make the stew they were eating. Light froze, asked if she was sure about using the skill fruits, and 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 nodded without realizing the problem. From everything Sister Santa said, eating a second skill fruit was a guaranteed death sentence. Suddenly, Light felt his body heat up, a sharp pain spreading through his chest. Convinced this was the end, he collapsed to the ground and apologized to 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 in what he believed were his final moments, blaming himself for expecting her to understand the labels when she couldn't even read yet. But as he lay there expecting the worst, Light noticed something strange. Death was taking its time. He sat up cautiously, checking himself, and realized he was fine. 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆, seeing the confusion on his face, asked if he was okay. Light nodded slowly, but the confusion didn't disappear. He knew the rules. Eating a second skill fruit should have been game over. Before he could think too much, a sharp headache hit, and a new power surged into his body. Then 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 clutched her stomach in pain. She'd also eaten the stew, so that could only mean one thing. She was about to unlock a skill of her own. Suddenly, 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 started seeing floating words in front of Light and began reading details about his fruit master skill. Turns out, besides being able to magically grow cucumbers out of nowhere, Light's skill also made him immune to all types of fruit poison. Light was surprised and asked how she knew all this. 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 explained that she could see these floating words, and Light realized she must have acquired some kind of appraisal skill. She kept reading and found something even crazier. Light now had a second skill. She told him it was called Sword God. This new skill increased Light's attack power when holding a sword and also granted him considerable magic resistance. Light's mind started racing. If what 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 said was legit, maybe his dream of becoming an adventurer could finally come true. He grabbed his sword and ran outside to test it. He raised the blade, made a quick motion, and smoothly cut a tree trunk in half, along with the giant tree behind it. In that moment, Light felt like he could take on anything. The next day, Light went to town, excited to finally join the guild and start his journey as an adventurer. He dreamed of this moment for a long time, and the first thing that caught his eye was the huge job board loaded with reward quests. Completing one of those quests meant money, new equipment, and good food. But Light wasn't just here for money. He wanted to see how much his sword god skill could do in real fights, and whether he had what it took to become an adventurer. He told 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 to relax on a bench while he went to the reception desk to pick a quest. While he was gone, 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆's curiosity took over, so she started using her appraisal skill on everyone in the guild. She was impressed by all the amazing skills people had, but she couldn't believe how useless some of them were. One guy even had a skill that hurt him whenever he used it. Suddenly, a loud argument broke out at the reception desk. 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 looked over and saw Light with another adventurer. The guy recognized Light as the cucumber seller from the market and didn't waste any time mocking him, saying someone like him had no business in the guild. Light didn't even acknowledge the guy and calmly told 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 it was time to go. That pissed the guy off, and instead of letting it go, he decided to attack Light with his sword. But thanks to Light's sword god skill, he blocked the attack with ease. The guy hadn't expected that. He was fully prepared to face a murder charge today. The guy's team intervened, realizing Light wasn't someone to mess with. They told him to let it go, saying this fight was pointless. Trying to save face, the guy pretended he wasn't serious about hurting Light. He and his friends left to start their quest. As soon as they left, Light and 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 also headed out. Now that he'd secured a quest for them, they headed toward the rocky plains, and Light was excited. This was his chance to see a monster up close. Knowing the risks, he told 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 to stay close and stay alert. Soon, they spotted their target, a slime monster relaxing in the distance. Light tried to sneak up on the slime, but it noticed him anyway. Light switched tactics and went for a frontal assault. With his enhanced strength, he sliced the slime cleanly in half, but his strike was so strong that he accidentally split the ground beneath it too. He was excited that his skill worked so well in combat, but he knew he needed to control it to avoid unnecessary destruction. 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 cheered him on for completing his first quest, but Light reminded her they weren't finished yet. They needed to dismember the slime and take its parts back to the guild to get paid. 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 felt bad about cutting up the slime's remains, but Light gently reminded her that selling the parts meant they'd have enough money for pizza. And with that, 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 set aside her guilt and started working on dissecting the slime. While they worked, screams echoed across the plains. They dropped what they were doing and ran, only to find Jean and his group in trouble. They were being attacked by a huge ogre. Jean's team thought they'd signed up for an easy job, just kill a slime and call it a day. Finding an ogre wasn't in their plans. The ogre swung its colossal weapon, and Jean's team threw themselves aside. They dodged the first strike, but they clearly had no chance against this beast. Light called out to ask if they were okay, but the moment Jean spotted him, an idea popped into his head. Jean and his team ran straight toward Light. At first, Light didn't understand, but then they sped past him, and the penny dropped. They were trying to use him as bait to escape. Now the ogre was focused on Light, leaving him no choice but to fight. But this might actually work in his favor since he was eager to test the limits of his new skill. The ogre swung its club with force, but Light dodged to the side. It was a risky move, and 𝐂𝐨𝐵 screamed a warning. His sword god skill boosted his attack power, but not his defense. One hit from that thing and he was done for. Even with the danger, Light refused to back down. He had a goal: to become the greatest adventurer in the world. And if he wanted that, he needed to face challenges like this head-on. Now that he was used to his new strength, he leaped into the air, and when the ogre attacked, he cut its club in half. With his goal driving him, Light knew he couldn't stop here. He was determined to catch up to Lena so they could be together again. In one smooth motion, he brought his sword down and sliced the ogre in half. Jean and his friends watched everything from a safe spot on a nearby hill, so stunned they couldn't even move. A little later, Light returned to the guild to exchange the ogre parts for money. But when he told the receptionist he'd defeated the ogre alone, she looked at him like he was joking. He proved it by pulling out the ogre's horn that he'd brought back. Plus, Jean's team spoke up, backing his story. They'd seen everything and swore it was legit. Hearing that, the receptionist finally believed him and asked him to wait while she got his reward. Jean's friends took the opportunity to thank Light again for saving their lives. At that moment, a commotion started near the guild entrance. Light asked what was happening, and Jean explained that the S-rank group had just returned. Not just any group, the one Lena had joined. This was the first time Light had seen her in 3 months. Excited, he approached to greet her, but Lena glanced at him and dropped a cold line. "I've never met this man in my life." Back at the guild, Light stood there frozen in shock, mouth hanging open. He couldn't believe that Lena had actually forgotten him after just 3 months. 𝐂𝐨𝐵, not understanding what was going on, tried to cheer him up by suggesting they order a pizza. Light agreed and took 𝐂𝐨𝐵 to get the pizza, but he was still down. 𝐂𝐨𝐵, not accepting this, threatened to eat the whole pizza by herself if he didn't perk up. Light might be upset about Lena, but he'd spent a lot of money on that pizza, and there was no way he was letting it go to waste. He started eating so fast that he ended up choking, but luckily, someone handed him a glass of water to help. When he looked up to thank them, he froze again. It was Lena. Light was about to shout her name, but Lena quickly covered his mouth, whispering for him to keep it down, or Grouse might hear them. She sat down at their table, and 𝐂𝐨𝐵, excited to meet her for the first time, introduced herself. Lena, curious and teasing, nearly asked Light if he'd discovered some shortcut to fatherhood during the 3 months he'd been away. But before she could, Light interrupted, demanding to know what she was doing there. To be fair, Lena was wondering the same thing about him, because she never expected to find him at the guild. Light proudly explained that he and 𝐂𝐨𝐵 were now adventurers. He told her the whole story about the skill fruit incident and how he'd acquired a second skill. Lena seemed genuinely happy for him, knowing that this meant he could finally chase his dream. When Light asked how her time with the S-rank group, Sacred, had been, her expression said it all. "It's been a nightmare." Lena explained that she was stuck fighting alongside a bunch of random people here, handpicked by Sister Santa. Sure, the pay was great, but the atmosphere was worse than a toxic family group chat. She warned Light to stay far away from Sacred if he wanted to enjoy his time as an adventurer. Light, still skeptical, didn't understand why Sacred was so bad. He'd only heard praise about them. That's when Lena remembered an incident from 2 months ago. Their group faced a giant serpent, a monster vulnerable to fire. Grouse, the leader, ordered the mage to set it on fire. The mage did, but overdid it, setting a nearby farm on fire in the process. When Lena tried to alert Grouse about the fire so they could contain it, he couldn't have cared less about some random farmer's property being destroyed. Their job was to kill the serpent, and they did. So Grouse dismissed any concerns about collateral damage. To him, things like destroyed farms or dead peasants didn't matter as long as the job got done. Lena tried to explain the situation to Sister Santa, hoping for a different response, but Sister Santa cared even less. All she wanted was for Sacred to be remembered as heroes, no matter how much destruction they left behind. Lena didn't tell Light about her group's twisted morality, but he could see she was unhappy. Feeling her struggle, Light invited her to join him and 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐿. But no matter how much Lena wanted to leave Sacred, she told him it was impossible because of circumstances beyond her control. She said she was fine, but Light noticed tears forming in her eyes. It was clear something was seriously wrong. But Lena didn't want to burden him with her problems. She stood up and left the table, ending the conversation. A little later, Light went to the reception desk to collect his reward for defeating the ogre. He received 10,000 gold pieces, more money than he'd ever seen in his life. But even with a generous payout, Light couldn't feel excited. His thoughts were stuck on Lena and whatever Sacred was forcing her to endure. 𝐂𝐨𝐵 suggested that if Lena wouldn't tell him what was going on, he should go straight to the source. She pointed out that the door to Grouse's lounge was wide open. Curious and determined, Light walked to the lounge and heard Grouse settling in with two women, bragging about his supposed legendary battles. Grouse was in the middle of recounting his latest fight. He told the women how he and his group hunted an evil grizzly bear, using a massive hellfire to burn it before landing the final blow himself. At that moment, the receptionist entered to discuss complaints from residents near where Grouse's battle took place. She explained that the hellfire used by Sacred had dried up the entire village reservoir, leaving them without water. Grouse dismissed the complaint, claiming that collateral damage was just part of fighting powerful monsters, but secretly, he didn't care at all. In fact, he enjoyed making life harder for the weak, as he saw them as inferior. Light heard every word, and his rage boiled over. He knew Lena would never disregard the struggles of ordinary people like that. Hearing how Sacred operated only deepened his determination to find out what was really going on and help Lena escape their control. Light burst in, demanding that Grouse let Lena leave Sacred, pointing out how much she was suffering. Grouse barely reacted, dismissing Light's plea as nonsense. Instead, he called security to throw Light out of the lounge. 𝐂𝐨𝐵 ran to Light's side, asking if he was okay. Though Light wasn't physically hurt, the other adventurers pulled him aside to warn him. Messing with Grouse was dangerous. He might be a jerk, but he was protected by Sister Santa. If she held a grudge, his adventurer career would be pretty much over. The next day, all the members of Sacred gathered in the lounge, busy basking in their own glory. Lena, however, couldn't stop thinking about Light's words, how he told her to leave Sacred if it made her unhappy. Finally, she gathered her courage and stood up in front of everyone, declaring she was ready to leave. She wanted to live by her own moral code as an adventurer, and that meant leaving Sacred effective immediately. Lena started walking toward the exit, but before she could get out, Grouse blocked her path. With his face full of rage, he threatened her with death for daring to defy him. Lena instinctively reached for her sword to defend herself, but hesitated. Even with her sword saint skill, she knew she couldn't beat Grouse in a one-on-one fight. With no choice, she let go of her sword and stepped back. Grouse struck her, knocking her to the ground, and then gave an arrogant, condescending speech about how she needed to persevere for the sake of all the people his group would save in the future. He told her to accept her place and keep going until the day she died in battle. Later that same day, the Sacred group prepared to leave town. Lena had resigned herself to a life under Grouse's control, but as they left, they found their path blocked by Light. Grouse, irritated, demanded to know why Light was in his way. Light, calm but determined, said he was there to get his friend back. He told Lena that he and 𝐂𝐨𝐵 were planning to hunt monsters and would love for her to join them. After all, they'd made a promise to become adventurers together, and he intended to keep it. Hearing that, Lena remembered the promise. She wanted to go with Light more than anything, but fear held her back, so she begged him to leave before he got hurt. Grouse, seeing Lena's rejection, disdainfully told Light to get lost, but Light didn't back down and stepped forward, declaring his challenge. He wanted a duel with Grouse for Lena's freedom. Grouse initially rejected the duel, dismissing Light as some random nobody who wasn't worth his time. But when Light provoked him by asking if he was afraid of losing to someone so insignificant, Grouse couldn't let the public disrespect slide. Furious, he agreed to the duel, determined to make an example of Light. To up the stakes, Grouse added a condition. If Light lost, he would be banned from the Adventurers Guild forever and exiled from the city. Light accepted without hesitation, but Lena begged him to back out. She didn't believe he could beat someone as skilled as Grouse in a sword fight. Grouse just laughed and drew his sword, ready to attack. Before the fight began, 𝐂𝐨𝐵 examined Grouse and warned Light that he possessed the supreme speed skill. She explained that this skill allowed him to close the distance with opponents almost instantly, making him incredibly dangerous. Light took a deep breath and readied his sword. To keep things fair, he announced his own skills, Fruit Master and Sword God. Grouse laughed, refusing to believe anyone could have two skills. The fight started with Grouse. He vanished in an instant, appearing right in front of Light. His first strike was so fast, Light barely saw it coming, but he managed to block. Grouse didn't let up, unleashing a flurry of attacks that forced Light onto the defensive. Light tried to create some distance, but Grouse's supreme speed let him close the gap. In a flash, he appeared behind Light and delivered a brutal kick to his side, leaving no safe spaces on the battlefield. Light struggled to keep up, admitting that Grouse was incredibly strong, but he refused to give up. He charged forward, determined to land a hit, but Grouse dodged easily. While Light was off balance, Grouse shattered his sword with a precise strike. With his weapon gone, the duel seemed over. Grouse, feeling confident, turned to Lena and offered to spare Light's life if she swore eternal loyalty to him for the rest of her days. Light, still standing despite the circumstances, shouted to Lena that she didn't need to do that and promised he'd find a way to win even without a proper weapon. Moved by Light's determination, Lena decided to trust him, believing he'd pull off a victory somehow. Then Grouse, tired of what he saw as blatant disrespect, decided to end Light with his next attack. Now Light was unarmed, so he quickly scanned his surroundings and grabbed a broom from a nearby spectator. Grouse immediately got annoyed, thinking Light was mocking him, and he wasn't entirely wrong, considering Light could have grabbed Lena's sword instead. The crowd watched in stunned silence, wondering if Light really intended to fight a duel with nothing but a broom in hand. Light's confidence didn't waver. Even with a broom as a weapon, he imagined it as a proper sword and prepared for Grouse's next move. Up until now, he'd been lagging because he was fixated on tracking Grouse's movement. But with his Sword God skill granting him high-level reflexes, Light decided to change his approach. Instead of overthinking, he'd let his instincts take over and strike when the moment felt right. When Grouse advanced to attack, Light's body reacted instantly. With perfect timing, he swung the broom and smacked Grouse across the face so hard that he was launched into a brick wall. Grouse passed out, and Light was declared the winner of the duel. To drive the point home, Light turned to the remaining members of Sacred and warned them that if they came after Lena again, they'd have to deal with him. He then looked at Lena and said she was finally free. Once more, he invited her to join his group, and this time, Lena happily accepted. A week passed after the duel, and while Light was still busy tending his vineyards, life was noticeably brighter now that Lena was by his side. She even made lunch for everyone. As they ate, she asked Light about the injuries he'd sustained in the fight with Grouse. Light reassured her, saying he felt great now and was ready to finally join her on some quests. Everything seemed perfect, except for one persistent problem. Every few days, Lena received a visit sent by Sister Santa, asking her to return to Sacred to discuss her decision to leave. Lena refused every time, saying there was nothing to discuss because her decision was final. But irritating Sister Santa came with consequences. When Light and Lena went to the guild to pick up a quest, they were only given the worst jobs, like eliminating Splinter the Rat King. The pay was laughable, making it hard to survive, but Lena didn't seem to mind. In fact, she appreciated how these jobs allowed her to help people, like rebuilding houses, unclogging sewers, or finding a lost kitty. At the end of the day, they'd only made 100 coins, barely enough for 3 pizzas, but neither of them complained. Lena was genuinely happy to be making a difference, and Light was having more fun than ever working with her. Meanwhile, at the Sister Santa Cathedral, she informed her assistant about her next plan. She intended to assign Lena's group a real job, an S-rank mission, one of the most dangerous in existence. And although she didn't say it outright, it was pretty clear she wouldn't mind if Light didn't come back alive. The scene shifted to Light and his team heading to the Adventurers Guild. When they arrived, the receptionist greeted them, saying she'd been waiting for them and explained the situation. This job was a race against time. Lena asked what kind of monsters they were facing, but the receptionist shrugged, saying she had no idea. She wasn't even sure if a monster was behind it. Light asked for more details. The receptionist explained that it all started 2 months ago when a group of adventurers went to the northern Mountain Valley region for a monster density survey and disappeared. A second group was sent to find them but also vanished. So far, 18 A to B rank adventurers were missing. The receptionist handed over a list of names. Lena saw Bork and Shara on the list, and her expression changed. Light noticed and asked if she knew them. Lena explained that they'd taught her a lot when she was a rookie adventurer. She was clearly worried, wondering what could have happened to them. The receptionist continued, saying that all they knew was that everyone who disappeared was heading to the old Count Montez estate. She told them the mansion was built 30 years ago by a guy who got rich from adventuring. Nobody knew what skill he had. But after the Count passed away, the mansion started falling apart. The mission was to find the missing adventurers and figure out what was causing all these disappearances. Lena started thinking this might be too dangerous for them. Even high-level adventurers hadn't come back alive. She tried to dissuade Light, but he was already pumped and ready to go. The receptionist noticed 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐿 and asked if the little girl was coming along. Light said yes, explaining that 𝐂𝐨𝐿's appraisal skill made her super reliable. The receptionist was shocked, wondering how someone so young had acquired a skill fruit. Light said it was just an accident, and she nodded, understanding. With that, Luxuria set out on their first major mission. 3 hours later, Light and his team were wandering through fog, struggling to find the mansion. After searching for a while, they realized the place was below them. Light took a look and said it was as amazing as the rumors claimed. After that, they started descending. Light told 𝐂𝐨𝐿 to watch her step since the path was super narrow. As they moved forward, Light kept his eyes on the mansion, thinking it looked more like a castle than an ordinary house. That made him question how much money adventurers must earn if one of them could afford such a massive place. Lena confirmed it, saying she'd been able to buy her own house in just a few months. Hearing that, Light started imagining building his own big house one day, complete with a huge farm and training areas. 𝐂𝐨𝐿 got all excited, saying she'd like to live in a candy house. She jumped, and the support under her feet gave way. Light grabbed her as she started to fall, but Lena grabbed Light to save him. It didn't work. They all ended up falling during the descent. Light thought fast and cut his momentum using wind magic through his sword strikes. They landed safely, and he was relieved they were okay. That relief didn't last long. They were suddenly surrounded by monsters from all sides. Light was excited to fight and quickly took one down. Lena stopped him, telling him to look closer at the monsters. She pointed out that they looked human. Light started realizing what was happening and wondered if these creatures were adventurers. 𝐂𝐨𝐿 used her appraisal skill and confirmed it. They were undead. She explained that they could turn others into undead by biting them. She warned the group to stay alert. Light froze, shocked that he'd just killed something that used to be human. 𝐂𝐨𝐿 added that the undead still had the skills they possessed when they were alive. Lena realized that their skills matched those listed for the missing adventurers. Light struggled to accept the idea of fighting against fellow adventurers. One of the undead charged at him, but Lena took it down. He thanked her, and she said she understood why he was hesitating, but they couldn't leave those adventurers in that state. Light nodded, understanding the reality of the situation. Lena said their priority was to get into the mansion to check for survivors. They pushed open the mansion gates and found even more undead waiting for them. Lena sprang into action, taking them down one by one with speed and precision. Light watched her fight and was impressed by her skill. He noticed how she hit each enemy's weak points with surgical precision even while moving quickly. He realized she'd completely mastered her abilities. Although his skill was technically stronger, he was far from being at her level now. Determined not to fall behind, Light charged forward and started cutting down enemies. He knew he couldn't let her get too far ahead of him. One of the undead focused on 𝐂𝐨𝐿, but Lena intervened and saved her in time. Light was impressed by how Lena managed to land a precise strike right in the gaps of the monster's armor. Lena told him she'd fought more battles in the past 3 months than she'd ever wanted. Light was grateful to have someone with her experience around. She checked on 𝐂𝐨𝐿, who said she was fine and called Lena really cool. Light realized they had to fight while keeping 𝐂𝐨𝐿 safe, which meant that even the smallest mistake could be costly. He decided there was no more room for hesitation. Lena said they'd given what they had to give there and suggested they head to the second floor. Light agreed, but asked why there were so many undead if only 18 adventurers had disappeared. Lena deduced that some of the undead were already there before the adventurers arrived. Light started wondering what could have happened in that place to create so many undead. As they climbed the stairs, they passed a portrait of the Count. Meanwhile, in another part of the mansion, in a dark room, a shadowy figure was dancing. It was a woman, and she was waiting for Light to reach her. On the second floor, Light and his team encountered another monster that appeared out of nowhere. Light took it down, but realized they were surrounded again. He kept cutting down monsters, but something felt different. These monsters were more coordinated than the ones they'd faced before. 𝐂𝐨𝐿 used her appraisal skill and discovered that someone was controlling them. Light noticed threads attached to the monsters and pointed them out. 𝐂𝐨𝐿 explained that these threads were transmitting magical energy, meaning the person controlling the monsters was somewhere at the end of the threads. They managed to escape the horde by following the threads until they reached a locked room. Inside, they found a ballroom, and a woman was there waiting for them. She introduced herself as 𝐿𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆, one of the wings of the Black Swan, the dark elite forces. Light felt a strange mix of relief and suspicion. He was happy to see someone alive, but she didn't look like a survivor. Dragna wasted no time and summoned more undead. 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐿 revealed that Dragna was controlling the undead using her necromancy skill. With this skill, she could control corpses and spirit-type monsters, as well as use their skills. Dragna noticed 𝐂𝐨𝐿's appraisal skill and immediately thought she'd be a problem. Light told Dragna they should join forces instead of fighting if she was there on guild business. Dragna cut that off quickly, saying she wasn't with the guild. She revealed she was there to eliminate the Fruit Master. Without waiting, she sent one of her undead to attack Light, but he took it down easily. Light wondered why she was trying to kill him. Dragna replied that it was an order from her but refused to say more. Lena was confused, saying she'd never heard of a group called Black Swan or a skill like necromancy. Dragna ignored her, looking at Light, saying he really took his time getting here. She joked that she was tired of waiting and hoped he'd entertain her enough to make up for it. Then she sent more undead after them. Light told Lena to focus on the fight, saying they'd sort everything out afterward. They quickly destroyed the undead, but Dragna wasn't happy with Lena's interference. She sent some of the undead to surround Lena while keeping Light busy in a one-on-one fight. During the fight, Lena spotted 𝑨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 and 𝐂𝐴 among the undead. The shock hit her hard. She couldn't believe they'd been killed too. 𝐂𝐴𝐿 warned Lena to stay alert, explaining that 𝑨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 and 𝐂𝐴 still had their skills. She told Lena that 𝐂𝐴's mirror slash allowed her to attack from both sides with mirrored images, and 𝑨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 could extend and sharpen his nails while increasing his resistance. The two undead attacked Lena, but she managed to block their attacks. Dragna decided that 𝐂𝐴𝐿's appraisal skill was too much of a problem and sent an undead to eliminate her. Light intervened in time to save 𝐂𝐴𝐿, but now he was surrounded by more undead. Light wondered how he was supposed to fight while keeping 𝐂𝐴𝐿 safe. The undead kept attacking, and although he managed to take them down, the constant attacks started wearing on him. Meanwhile, Lena kept dodging 𝑨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 and 𝐂𝐴's attacks, hesitating every time she had a chance to strike back. She knew she needed to kill them, but she couldn't bring herself to do it. Memories flooded her mind of when she first arrived in the Holy City, how 𝑨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 and 𝐂𝐴 were the first to welcome her, how they helped her level up as an adventurer, and how they encouraged her to aim even higher. Lena kept fighting 𝑨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 and 𝐂𝐴, backing off for a moment to check on Light and 𝐂𝐴𝐿, but she couldn't see them. She knew she needed to end this quickly, so she decided to cut the thread controlling the undead to create an opening. When she cut the thread, she briefly saw the souls of her old friends. They told her to end their suffering and asked her to keep adventuring for their sake. Tears streamed down her face as she understood what needed to be done, and with a heavy heart, she eliminated them. Meanwhile, Light was still fighting the undead, doing his best to protect 𝐂𝐴𝐿. He started feeling overwhelmed, wondering how many of these creatures there were. Then he realized something, and asked 𝐂𝐴𝐿 if necromancy could create undead. She told him it didn't work like that. She only controlled the ones already around. Light started thinking, if necromancy isn't creating these things, where are they coming from? This is an abandoned mansion, not a cemetery full of bodies. There must be an explanation. 𝐂𝐴𝐿 decided to use her appraisal skill to investigate further. Dragna watched them and realized they were smarter than she expected. However, 𝐂𝐿's skill was starting to annoy her, so she sent more undead after her. Light intervened, saving 𝐂𝐿 again, and called Dragna a coward for attacking a child. Dragna was unfazed and said she didn't care what he called her. The undead started closing in. Light knew he needed to stay close to 𝐂𝐿 to keep her safe, but he also knew they'd lose if all he did was defend. He quickly devised a plan and teamed up with 𝐂𝐿 to take down the undead together. Dragna laughed at them, but Light shot back, saying she wouldn't be laughing for long. Meanwhile, far away, Sister Santa looked again into her magic mirror. She noticed a shadow stretching across the moon. Her assistant asked what she was seeing. She replied that it was a shadow swallowing the moon, and was certain that not even a priori would stand a chance against what was coming. Meanwhile, Lena was cutting a path through the undead, desperate to reach Light and 𝐂𝐿, because she knew something was wrong. Light, completely surrounded by a swarm of undead, shouted at 𝐂𝐿 to figure out how these creatures kept appearing. He was sure Dragna wasn't the one summoning them. 𝐂𝐿 activated her appraisal skill, analyzing the undead adventurers to understand what was happening. But the numbers were overwhelming, making it nearly impossible to find anything useful. She quickly realized she needed a better view to see what was behind this. Without hesitation, Light grabbed her and leaped into the air, holding onto a chandelier to lift her above the chaos. As they surveyed the scene, Dragna watched them from a distance, giving them all the time they needed to uncover the truth. But she wasn't worried, at least not yet. Light, who wasn't exactly known for his endurance, struggled to hold on and told 𝐂𝐨𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 to hurry. Finally, 𝐂𝐶𝐵𝒆 spotted something, a special undead figure hidden among the swarm. She identified it as the one using the summoning skill to bring in more undead repeatedly. Light looked closely and realized that this undead was once Count Montes, the original owner of the mansion. Dragna, clearly not the sharpest tool in the shed, finally figured out what Light and 𝐂𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 were doing. She quickly started planning an attack to silence them before they could fully unravel her plans. At that moment, a massive figure appeared on the top floor balcony. It was a soul reaper, dripping with dark energy, staring directly at 𝐂𝐶𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 and Light. 𝐂𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 didn't waste time and used her appraisal skill on the creature. She discovered it had the power to turn living beings into undead. With a swing of its scythe or an attack from its sludge, she screamed a warning to Light. Just in time, he dodged the attack and landed safely back on the ground. The Soul Reaper retreated to Dragna's side, confirming that she was the one controlling this nightmare. Dragna, with an arrogant smile, explained how she'd gotten her hands on such a monster. Turns out, when the Count was alive, he'd summoned the Soul Reaper himself, but instead of controlling it, the creature turned him into one of the undead. When Dragna appeared, she took control of the Soul Reaper and all the other undead creatures in the mansion. Light's mind started putting the pieces together, the missing people, the adventurers who vanished after coming here. Everything was the Soul Reaper's work, orchestrated by Dragna. She didn't even bother to deny it, arrogantly confirming his suspicions while revealing more dark details. But there was still one thing that didn't make sense. Why would a celebrated hero like the Count summon something so dangerous in the first place? Dragna rolled her eyes at Light's lack of understanding, explaining to him, "The Count was never the hero people thought he was." She revealed the truth. The Count had a forbidden summoning skill, a type of power that made him a complete outcast. At first, people celebrated him for having such a rare and incredibly powerful skill. But that admiration didn't last. Fear and suspicion began to surface. People started wondering if their so-called hero would one day turn against them, using his summoning powers to bring destruction instead of protection. So the government and the people turned their backs on him. They didn't even need proof to label him a traitor. Pushed to the edge, the Count fled to this remote mansion, building it as a place to hide from the world for the rest of his days. Even after he disappeared, the rulers weren't satisfied. They sent assassins to finish the job. Desperate to survive, the Count summoned the Soul Reaper, but the move backfired. Not only did it take his life, but it also cursed the mansion, turning it into a death trap for anyone foolish enough to enter. Dragna concluded her story, smiling as she declared it was time to end this fight. Using her necromancy skills, she summoned a swarm of undead, sending them toward Light. Before Light could get the answers he was looking for, the Soul Reaper launched its sludge at him, forcing him to focus on keeping 𝐂𝐶𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 safe. As he dodged, he told 𝐂𝐶𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 something he'd noticed. Dragna's necromancy controlled the undead, directing their movements and attacks. He explained that her monsters couldn't make another move unless she gave them new orders. 𝐂𝐶𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 checked his observation and confirmed he was right. That was all Light needed to hear. He charged forward, ready to unleash his sword god technique, Boost Blade. But before executing the move, Light changed his strategy, leaping directly toward Dragna, catching her completely off guard. At the same time, Lena the Sword Saint burst onto the scene, eliminating the Soul Reaper before Dragna could react. With the Soul Reaper gone for good, the hardest part of the battle was finally over. Now all that remained was to deal with Dragna. Lena faced Dragna and told her she didn't plan to eliminate her, at least not yet. She had questions that needed answering first. Light realized they only needed to take down the Count to stop the undead from coming back. So he charged forward and cut down the Count, hoping the man's soul could finally rest. As the Count's body began to crumble, he murmured his last words, telling Light that one day he'd end up hating skills just like he did. But Light shook his head, telling the Count he'd never become like him. Dragna, refusing to accept defeat, wouldn't even let the Count die in peace. She used her necromancy powers to force the Count to summon one last monster. As he disappeared, a magic circle appeared above them, and suddenly a massive demon dragon was summoned, instantly devouring all the undead around it. As the dragon entered the mansion, Light's group stood frozen in fear, while Dragna started laughing like she'd completely lost her mind. But before Dragna could control the dragon and turn it into her pet, the beast swung its tail and slammed her against the floor, knocking her out. Light, Lena, and 𝐂𝐶𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 were now face to face with a massive dragon. 𝐂𝐶𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 immediately recognized it as an evil dragon. Lena, shocked, revealed that this type of monster was so powerful that even the best S-rank adventurers couldn't scratch it. Despite that, Light remained optimistic, thinking they might have a chance if they combined their skills. Before he could act on his plan, 𝐂𝐨𝐵 warned him that the dragon's scales were immune to sword attacks. However, Light didn't listen and leaped into the air using his sword's supreme move, but instead of causing damage, his sword shattered. The guy barely dodged a fireball from the dragon and nearly got roasted back to his dumb era. With no hope in sight, Light turned to Lina for a solution. As Light debated whether to run, he realized that running would only give the dragon a clear chance to finish them off. Meanwhile, Lina tried to devise a plan to keep the dragon occupied long enough for the others to escape. Suddenly, 𝐂𝐨𝐵 raised her hands, claiming she had an idea. Her plan involved Light eating a new skill fruit. Light considered it, desperate for any chance to fight back. Meanwhile, Dragna, lying on the floor, started laughing despite the pain, excited that her leader had summoned an evil dragon and that Light and his cocky team were doomed. She passed out with a smile, hoping the dragon would finish them all off. At that moment, a strange knight appeared out of nowhere, picked up Dragna's weak body, and disappeared with her, leaving Light's group to deal with the dragon alone. Meanwhile, Lina demanded to know why 𝐂𝐨𝐵 had a skill fruit. 𝐂𝐨𝐵 explained that she thought it might come in handy someday. The dragon interrupted by slamming its claws into the ground, forcing them to separate. With no other option, Light decided to eat the fruit. As he reached out to take it, Lina tried to stop him, warning about the risks. Light ignored her, saying he was immune to skill fruit poison, meaning he could eat as many as he wanted. Lina argued that gaining a new skill could interfere with the ones he already had. Although Light, in his ignorance, dismissed her, he was convinced this was his only chance to defeat the dragon. He took the fruit from 𝐂𝐨𝐵 and took a bite. The moment he swallowed it, a sharp pain shot through his chest, leaving him vulnerable to an attack. The dragon charged, but Lina shielded him in time. As soon as he regained focus, Light told 𝐂𝐨𝐵 to use her appraisal skill to find out his new skill. When she checked, her expression went blank. He'd obtained insect resistance. Hearing that, Light lost his mind, screaming about how useless the skill was while 𝐂𝐨𝐵 hesitantly agreed. Before he could complain more, the dragon fired a massive blast. Lina blocked it, holding her ground, still fighting the dragon as the experienced warrior she was. That gave Light enough time to try another fruit. This time, he ate 2 at once, hoping for better results. The result, 2 ridiculous skills, cat charmer and weapon durability increase. The second skill might have helped if his sword wasn't already shattered. Eating 2 fruits at once also left him nauseous and weaker, but he refused to stop. Desperate, he decided to grab another fruit, hoping for a game-changing skill. Meanwhile, Lina kept fighting the dragon, leaping into the air for a decisive strike. Her sword broke on impact, just like Light's. Frustrated, the dragon slammed her against the wall with its tail, leaving her dazed. Seeing Lina in trouble, Light panicked and bit into the last fruit, watching his hands start to glow. Meanwhile, the dragon approached to finish off Lina. It was about to land the final blow when Light threw a rock at it to get its attention. 𝐂𝐨𝐵 quickly ran to help Lina up. She told Lina that Light had just unlocked a sleep fairy skill in his hands, a power that could knock out any creature that breathed its scales. Without wasting time, Light launched the sleep fairy at the dragon. The fairy released its scales into the air, but the dragon fought with all its strength to stay awake, barely moving. Realizing the fairy alone wasn't enough, Light grabbed a piece of his broken sword and channeled the last of his sword god energy into it. He threw it at the ceiling, causing debris to fall. Using the chaos's cover, he launched himself into the air. Light landed right on the dragon's face, releasing the full force of the sleep fairy directly onto the beast. The scales swirled around the dragon, and this time there was no escape. The dragon's eyes closed, and it crashed to the ground unconscious. With the dragon defeated and the dungeon starting to collapse, they all got out as fast as possible. When they made it outside, the place crumbled behind them. Exhausted but victorious, Light suggested they go home to collect their reward and enjoy a proper meal. That night, they rushed home on horseback. As they approached the gates, the guards immediately recognized Lina and rushed to open them. The city lights flooded the area, and 𝐂𝐨𝐵 couldn't help but marvel at the scene. Light turned to 𝐂𝐨𝐵, thanking her for stepping up back in the dungeon. He then looked at Lina to express his gratitude, but before he could say anything, he fell off his horse, passing out on the spot. 𝐂𝐨𝐵 and Lina panicked, rushing to his side. Elsewhere, Dragna was unconscious but conscious in a dimly lit room with Sister Santa by her side. The mysterious man who brought Dragna there started to leave, but Sister Santa stopped him, asking what he thought of the Fruit Master. The man admitted he was shocked to hear that Light had taken down the evil dragon, though he didn't see it as a true threat to Black Swan. Sister Santa nodded, relieved by his words, and the man disappeared into the shadows. Once alone, Sister Santa's calm expression shifted. She felt uneasy about Light's strength, and wondered if this was the power of a priori, but deep down, she suspected he possessed something even more unique. Looking out the window, she murmured that the time of their meeting was drawing near. The scene shifted to 𝐂𝐨𝐵 tending the garden, while Lena relaxed in a bath. Then Lena started preparing lunch, and 𝐂𝐨𝐵 joined in to help. While they cooked, Lena suddenly remembered she'd forgotten to water the garden, but 𝐂𝐿𝐵 said she'd already taken care of it. Lena praised her for doing a good job. They figured they had everything under control now, even without Light, and were sure he'd be happy to see them handling things. That's when Light walked in, telling them to stop acting like he'd died. They turned, shocked to see him standing. He said he just came to get some water, but they wouldn't let him stand for long. They grabbed him and took him back to his room, reminding him that he needed to rest after eating 4 skill fruit roots at once. Light realized he'd been unconscious for 2 days. Lena checked and saw that his fever had finally gone down, but she still warned him not to overdo it. She handed him his lunch, telling him to eat well and rest. Just as he was about to eat, he noticed Lena and 𝐂𝐿𝐵 were leaving and asked where they were going. They showed him a mandatory summons from the guild. They needed to report what they knew about the evil dragon's appearance. Light tried to go with them, but 𝐂𝐿𝐵 quickly stopped him, saying he needed to rest. They left without him. Later at the guild, the receptionist informed them that the higher-ups wouldn't see them for another 2 hours. Lena was surprised, asking why they had to wait so long if they'd been summoned. The receptionist shrugged, saying the bosses were busy. She also informed them that 𝐂𝐿𝐵 couldn't enter the conference room because she wasn't officially registered with the guild. Lena didn't waste time and decided to register 𝐂𝐿𝐵 right there. The receptionist handed 𝐂𝐿𝐵 a form, and the nearby adventurers started whispering, surprised that such a young child was joining them. Hearing that, 𝐂𝐿𝐵 turned to Lena and asked if she seemed out of place there, saying she didn't have any cool equipment like the others. Lena reassured her, saying she fit right in. She reminded 𝐂𝐿𝐵 that her appraisal skill was valuable and that she understood why a girl her age might worry about appearances. Instead of waiting around, Lena suggested they visit some shops. 𝐂𝐿𝐵 hesitated, saying she had no money, but Lena waved it off, telling her not to worry about it. She was like a little sister to Lena, and that was what mattered. Meanwhile, Light was stuck at the mansion, bored. Back in town, 𝐂𝐿𝐵 and Lena were cooling off with ice cream. Wandering around, 𝐂𝐿𝐵 spotted an interesting shop and pulled Lena toward it. But Lena looked at the place with suspicion, thinking it looked more suspicious than interesting. They entered, and Lena whispered that they should leave and find a less shady place. But 𝐂𝐿𝐵 stopped in front of some rustic-looking stones. She pointed at one and told Lena it was a diamond. Lena didn't believe her, but 𝐂𝐿𝐵 insisted that her appraisal skill never lied. This surprised Lena because she didn't know 𝐂𝐿𝐵 could use it on objects too. The shopkeeper laughed, thinking 𝐂𝐿𝐵 was joking, but Lena trusted her. She bought the diamond, tied it to a cord, and put it around 𝐂𝐿𝐵's neck before dragging her to a clothing store. The shop owner lit up at seeing Lena, happy to have her favorite customer back. Lena said she was there to get something for the little girl, but before she could say more, the owner got very excited. She grabbed Lena and started dressing her in one outfit after another from the new collection. Lena finally interrupted her, making it clear she was there for 𝐂𝐿𝐵, not for a fashion show. The owner agreed and suggested a cute dress, but 𝐂𝐿𝐵 wasn't interested. After hesitating for a second, she admitted she wanted something cool, something that would make her look like a real adventurer, like Lena. Later, they were back at the guild and 𝐂𝐿𝐵 was officially registered. Soon they were called into the conference room. Meanwhile, back at the mansion, Light tried to shake off boredom with some light exercise. The sleep fairy caught him in the act and interrupted, telling him to get back to bed. He argued that he'd been down for 2 days straight and needed to move, but she wasn't listening. She dragged him back, covered him up, and pulled the blanket over him. Lying there, Light started thinking about Lena and 𝐂𝐿𝐵, imagining them receiving all kinds of praise for defeating the evil dragon. He grumbled to himself, saying it wasn't fair. He wanted some of that recognition too, and was now itching to get to the guild. Back at the guild, the receptionist led Lena and 𝐂𝐿𝐵 toward the conference room. On the way, she told Lena it was good to have her there since they needed all the information possible about the evil dragon. Lena said she'd do everything she could to help, but made it clear she hadn't come just to deliver information and leave. She'd accepted the invitation because she wanted to find out where Dragna came from. She knew someone had sent Dragna to eliminate them, and the Adventurers Guild was the only group that knew they were going to the Count's mansion. That meant the higher-ups who'd hired them had to be involved. Well before entering the conference room, their weapons were confiscated. Lena and 𝐂𝐿𝐵 entered, and 𝐂𝐿𝐵's eyes went wide at the size of the room. The members of the 4 offices were informed that Lena of Luxuria had arrived. 𝐂𝐿𝐵 whispered, asking what the 4 offices were, and the receptionist explained that they were the main branches of the guild, all working under the guild master. The heads of the 4 offices were here for this briefing, and one by one they were introduced. First was 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆, the head of security. Next came Flower, the head of investigation, who handled monster ecology and density surveys. Then it was 𝐒𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆, the head of finance, who cared about maintaining rewards and money, probably a bit obsessed with it. Last was Sister Santa, the head of inspection. Sister Santa nodded at Lena, praising her for the work she'd done at the Count's mansion, happy to see she'd come out okay. Lena thanked her but wasn't exactly thrilled to see her again. What really interested her was how Sister Santa would react once she started talking about Dragna and Black Swan. Isla, still trying to piece things together, asked what Sister Santa did. The receptionist said she was the highest-ranking member of the inspection office, keeping the other offices in check. That made her the most powerful figure in the guild. Isla, curious, tried to appraise her to see what kind of skills she had, but nothing showed up. Sister Santa asked Lena to explain everything she knew about the evil dragon. Lena agreed, but made it clear she had a question of her own. First, Sister Santa asked what was on her mind. Lena mentioned that when they checked the mansion, they were ambushed by a woman named Dragna from an organization called Black Swan. She asked if anyone in the room had heard either of those names. Everyone went silent. Flower interjected, saying she could use her skill to search the Great Library's records and find any information. But before she could try, 𝐒𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 reminded her that checking personal records required approval from all 4 offices. Sister Santa shifted the focus back to the evil dragon, saying that was what they needed to worry about now. The way she dodged the subject bothered Lena, making her think Sister Santa might be hiding something. Sister Santa pressed for immediate action, saying they needed to track the dragon and figure out how to deal with it. Flower informed them that she'd already sent a scout bird, but the dragon was no longer at the mansion. She added that if she had a piece of the dragon's body, she might be able to track it. That's when Lena remembered she'd picked up a dragon scale. She pulled it out and showed it to everyone. They all stared, trying to figure out what it was. Isla appraised it and confirmed it was a dragon scale, surprising everyone in the room. Flower approached to take a closer look, getting all excited since she'd never seen one before. She believed this could help her locate the evil dragon. Lena said she was willing to hand it over, but only if they let her see all records related to Dragna. The demand surprised everyone, but Flower agreed. 𝐒𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 and 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 had no objections either. All eyes turned to Sister Santa. After a moment she allowed it, but warned Lena there was no guarantee she'd find anything. Lena was fine with that. Flower activated her skill, Scholar's Eye. Scouring all the library records, she finally found something. Dragna's name appeared in a document. Turns out, 12 years ago in the Lake Athena capital, Dragna obtained a skill fruit and gained the necromancy skill from it. Lena's eyes narrowed, and she asked who the evaluation officer was. Flower read the name aloud. It was Sister Santa. Lena fixed her gaze on her, now fully convinced they were connected. She asked directly if Sister Santa knew Dragna. Sister Santa pretended not to know, saying she granted skills to about 1,000 people every year, so there was no way to remember something from 12 years ago. Lena knew she couldn't push further at this moment, but at least she had a lead to follow. Sister Santa thanked Lena for the information, but then dropped a bombshell. She was having all of Luxuria's records erased. Lena raised an eyebrow, asking why. That's when Sister Santa revealed that Grouse had made an official statement accusing Light of taking Lena from his group through violence. The whole room shifted, and now everyone looked at Lena sideways, thinking Luxuria was just a bunch of reckless thugs. Before Lena could get a word in, Light burst through the door like he owned the place, entering as if he expected applause. He stopped when he noticed the mood was strange, asking why everyone looked like they'd received bad news. Sister Santa told him directly that his group was being disbanded for violating guild rules. Light tilted his head, asking if she had the authority to do that. The receptionist confirmed she did. Light shrugged, saying she could do whatever she wanted, because whether they were in the guild or not, Luxuria was still Luxuria. That made Sister Santa smile. She activated her skill and noticed something about Light that made her reconsider. She suddenly changed her tone, saying she'd give him a chance to redeem himself. If he wanted to keep Luxuria alive, he'd have to accept an S-rank monster hunting job. She mentioned that the pay would be really generous. Lena watched her, surprised by the sudden change. Sister Santa covered by saying something vague about Light's determination, changing her heart. The others applauded, praising her mercy. Lena turned to Light, telling him to think carefully before making a decision, but Light was already decided, excited about the idea of facing an S-rank beast. He accepted on the spot. Lena warned him again, saying this was a trap. Light heard her but didn't back down, saying maybe it was, but if he wanted his name etched in history, he needed to overcome obstacles like this. Later, Luxuria managed to get the S-rank beast hunting mission, immediately realizing that this monster was no easy opponent. Lena warned Light to stay alert, saying Sister Santa was definitely up to something. 𝐂𝐨𝐵 agreed, adding that she hadn't even been able to appraise her skills, which made no sense. That caught Lena off guard. If Sister Santa had nothing to hide, why keep her skills a secret? Light dismissed it, saying none of that mattered as long as they were ready for battle. Gravekeeper stepped in, eyeing Light. Light told him that weapons weren't allowed in the conference room, so he was being fined 1,000 gold coins for carrying one. Light smiled, showing his completely broken sword. It couldn't be a weapon if it was in pieces. Gravekeeper sighed, canceling the fine, but reminded him that this was the second time he'd broken a sword borrowed from the guild. That meant he now owed 5,000 gold coins for breaking another one. Later, Light tried to borrow a new sword, but the receptionist cut him off, annoyed. She said that someone who'd broken 2 weapons couldn't borrow another from the guild. He'd have to buy his own now. She suggested getting a custom-made sword if he wanted to succeed as an adventurer, explaining that a weapon designed for his fighting style would unlock new potential. Light started thinking about it, realizing he needed something sharp, something durable enough to withstand his sword god's skill. Maybe even the evil dragon wouldn't stand a chance. Light mentioned going to get his sword made, but Lena interjected, reminding him it would take a few days to forge. She planned to visit Athena in the meantime. Light looked surprised, asking if she was going alone. She said she had a lead now, so she wanted to follow it as soon as possible. She asked 𝐂𝐨𝐵 to keep an eye on Light while she was away. 𝐂𝐨𝐵 agreed. Light warned her not to do anything reckless. She nodded before heading off elsewhere. A girl ran through the market with some threatening-looking men chasing her. Nearby, people watched, shaking their heads, saying this kind of thing happened to her all the time. Light and 𝐂𝐨𝐵 approached a guide, asking where Light could get a sword made. The guide didn't bring good news. He said it would be tough since most workshops in the merchant district were backing Sister Santa. That meant no one would help Luxuria. But Light didn't want to hear that. He needed a sword. The guide thought for a second, but then said there was a chance at the Boost workshop on the west side. He said Boost wasn't just any blacksmith. The guy was a legend, but lately he'd been having some problems. Light wasn't even listening. Hearing legend, he was already pumped, ready to get his blade made. He asked the guide to arrange a letter of introduction. Meanwhile, Lena was in a carriage on her way to her destination, hoping Light and 𝐂𝐨𝐵 were doing okay. Back in the merchant district, Light was taking in the scene. There were all sorts of things around here. Then, out of nowhere, they spotted the same girl as before. This time she was being chased again, but by different guys. They cornered her. The guys pressed, telling her to give up. Then they tried to attack her, but Light intervened. He confronted them, saying 3 guys ganging up to attack a girl was weak. They told him to back off, but he wasn't going anywhere. They charged at him and he dodged easily, telling the girl to stay behind him. She looked worried, but Light said he could handle it. He drew his broken sword. One of the guys charged at him, but Light reversed the situation, hitting the guy with the sword's hilt and sending him flying. The other 2 saw this and panicked. They grabbed their injured friend and ran off. Light turned to the girl and asked if she was okay. She nodded, said she was fine, and introduced herself as Monica. Light and 𝐂𝐨𝐵 introduced themselves too. Monica saw 𝐂𝐨𝐵 and immediately thought she was adorable, saying she loved little kids. She invited them to her house as a thank you. She said she'd make pancakes. 𝐂𝐨𝐵 got excited as soon as she heard pancakes, but Light shook his head, saying they had business at the Boost workshop. Monica said that workshop was her place. They deduced she must be some kind of apprentice. She took the lead, and they followed her inside. Light looked around and asked where all the craftsmen were. Monica shrugged and said there weren't any. She handled everything alone. Then she revealed her full name, Monica Boost, welcoming them to her workshop. They were completely shocked to realize she was the legendary blacksmith. She just smiled, happy they knew who she was. As thanks for helping her, she said she'd show him her greatest creation. She pulled out a frying pan with holes. It was for making round pancakes. She called it the Monica pan, showing how the mold came out, turning it into a regular round frying pan. Then she pulled out several different versions, saying each cost 2,000. Light thought that was absurdly expensive, but since he saved her, she gave him a 50% discount. She asked if he was going to buy it, but he shook his head, saying he preferred his pancakes whole. The shape didn't really matter to him. She sighed, wondering why nobody ever bought this thing, even though it was innovative. Turns out she'd tried to sell it to 3 guys earlier, but they'd accused her of scamming and chased her. Light thought it was her fault for picking the wrong customers. He was also a bit surprised that blacksmiths did more than just weapons. Monica agreed. saying most of what she sold were household utensils. Light saw a hoe lying around. She noticed, asking if he liked gardening tools. He said he grew fruit. She figured the harvest must be hard work, but he said he did it all by hand. She looked closely at his hands and then got an idea. She said she'd make the perfect tool for him. Light wondered if she was going to forge it right there. She nodded, saying it was a special thank you for saving her. She lit the forge, grabbed her hammer, and got to work. 𝐂𝐨𝐵 watched, noting that Monica had a skill called Super Forge, a technique that allowed her to shape metal by hammering it exactly as she wanted. Light was impressed as Monica explained that with her skill, she could adjust the hardness of magical material as needed. Light knew this was the perfect skill for a blacksmith. Monica made him a pair of harvesting shears. He picked them up, feeling like they fit his hand as if they'd been made for him. She told him to try cutting some firewood with them. Firewood and shears weren't exactly a match, but she kept insisting. So he went ahead, and the shears cut through wood with ease. 𝐂𝐵 watched, thinking Light must have used his sword god skill. Light shook his head. The shears were just that sharp. He realized it now. Monica wasn't just a blacksmith. She was a legend. He asked her to make a sword for him, saying he'd come in search of the ultimate blade. She refused. He mentioned wondering if this shop was tied to Sister Santa. She didn't care about that. She just hated swords. She wouldn't make them. She said she could forge anything else, but Light held firm. A sword was what he needed. Monica had already predicted this the moment she saw his broken blade. She made it clear she hadn't brought him there because of a sword. She'd hoped he'd buy her non-stick pan. She was really trying to sell that thing. She had her reasons. Even without making swords, she wanted to prove she had a place in commerce. Light remembered something. This was supposed to be a weapon workshop. Monica clarified that the guide was talking about the shop across the street. The other boost workshop. The scene shifted. The other workshop was packed. Workers rushed about, tools clanking. They were behind on the week's orders. Monica entered with Light and 𝐂𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆, going straight to her father, Ivan. She asked him to make a sword for Light. He looked at her like she'd lost her mind. She was passing customers along. She wouldn't serve them herself. She stood firm, saying she was better than selling weapons to shady merchants. Ivan cut her off and told her to stay in her own shop. Monica left, saying she shouldn't have come in the first place. Light turned back to Ivan to talk about his sword. Ivan was already overwhelmed. A large order had him busy for the next 6 months. He told Light to go elsewhere. So Light left, but he wasn't thinking about any other blacksmith. He wanted a sword from Monica. 𝐂𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 thought they should go back and ask her again before Light could advance. 𝐂𝐴𝐵, one of Ivan's workers, stopped him and called his name. Light had never said his name, but 𝐂𝐴𝐵 already knew it. He'd seen that duel against Grouse. A rookie taking down Grouse with a broom was amazing. And at that moment, 𝐂𝐴𝐵 became a fan. Light shook his head because that fight hadn't done him any favors. Since then, those siding with Sister Santa had kept their distance. 𝐂𝐴𝐵 understood now. That was the reason Light had come here. Monica and her father were the only blacksmiths in this entire district who weren't in debt to Sister Santa. Light wanted to know why they had separate workshops. 𝐂𝐴𝐵 explained that Monica used to work at their shop when she acquired her forge skill. 3 years ago, their reputations skyrocketed, and the Holy City couldn't stop talking about them. 6 months ago, everything changed. A supply cart was attacked by bandits on the outskirts of the city. Monica's grandmother was on board. She didn't survive, along with the others. The security office arrested the bandits immediately. When they examined the weapons, they found Monica's signature on them. She had nothing to do with those bandits. Her weapons had passed through so many hands before reaching them, but none of that mattered. Her own sword had taken her grandmother's life, and that broke her. Light now understood why she didn't make swords. That was why she didn't get along with her father. Before anything else happened, Zando and his partner Doug appeared, looking for Ivan. 𝐂𝐴𝐵 muttered to himself. Zando worked with the Blackbird Merchant Group. Zando looked at Light as if he'd seen him before. Ivan stepped in, going straight to the point. He asked what Zando wanted. Zando laid out his demand. More orders. He pulled out a contract stating they were buying weapons from him every week for another year. 𝐂𝐴𝐵 knew they were already struggling to keep up with orders, and keeping up with this would be impossible. Doug smirked and said that if Ivan couldn't handle it, Monica could. Her skill was on another level. Any weapon merchant would kill to have her. She could take scraps and turn them into high-quality weapons like it was nothing. Light told them that Monica wasn't willing to make swords, and Zando replied that they'd have to force her to. Zando showed off his skills, and 𝐂𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 appraised him before things got too heated. Ivan sighed, saying he'd take care of the order and sign the contract. Zando and his shady partner left, and Kane revealed that the Blackbird merchant group was using Monica as leverage to pressure deals with them. He pointed out that Ivan was being forced to agree to their demands just to keep Monica safe. Ivan told Light not to tell her the news. Light asked why, and Ivan just shrugged, saying it wasn't something she needed to know, then left. Later that night, Light and Isla arrived at Monica's workshop. Monica told Light she wasn't going to make him a sword, but he invited her to dinner, and she accepted. The scene cut to him feasting at a banquet. Monica discovered that Isla had the appraisal skill and thought it was amazing, telling her that once the news spread in the merchant district, everyone would want her. Monica said she'd love to have her working at the shop too, but Isla revealed that she wanted to go on adventures with Light, so she couldn't be stuck being a merchant. Monica joked that Isla was very precious, and told them to eat as much as they wanted. She even offered to pay the bill. Light found it a bit strange, since they'd invited her, but Monica said it was just thanks for saving her, adding that it had been about 6 months since she'd had a real meal with anyone. Light then ordered a bunch of stuff, and since Monica was paying the bill, he really didn't hold back. Elsewhere, Zando was meeting with Sister Santa. She asked for more weapons. He agreed and mentioned that he'd seen Light in the merchant district today. He added that they'd already taken measures, so they should be able to deliver him soon. Sister Santa got excited about that, deciding to send a spy to keep the security office away from them. She hoped Zando wouldn't kill Light because she needed him alive, and he understood. Elsewhere, Monica was returning from her run to the restaurant when she ran into Doug, who kidnapped her. Meanwhile, Isla and Light were heading home when Kane came running, shouting for them to come to the workshop. They headed there, and Kane handed Light a note with Monica's goggles taped to the door. Light read it and realized someone had kidnapped Monica. They wanted him to go alone to this underground arena. One of the merchants informed them that the underground arena was actually the base of the Blackbird merchant group, located on the outskirts of the merchant district. At that moment, Ivan stepped forward, ready to rescue his daughter, but Kane stopped him, saying he couldn't face them alone. Light then offered to do it, since they were calling for him, and immediately left. At the arena, Monica woke up in chains and asked what the plan was. They revealed that she was just bait to lure Light. They'd catch him as soon as he came to save her. Doug told her that she'd be stuck making weapons for them forever because of her skills. At that moment, Light broke into the arena. They thought he was an idiot for coming alone, so they released the Raging Bull, a giant bull-like beast. Doug warned that between the bull and the team, he was about to get wrecked, but Light remained calm as the bull and the team charged at him. He summoned the Sleep Fairy and took them all down. Monica, completely shocked, wondered what just happened. Light then freed her from her chains and said it was time to go. She realized she now owed him. The scene cut to them arriving at the workshop. At the workshop, everyone saw Light carrying Monica. Ivan asked if she was okay, and Light replied that she was great. She'd inhaled some of the Sleep Fairy's scales that were floating around. He added that she'd wake up eventually, joking that she always gave a little trouble. Light laid her on the workshop floor, and Ivan thanked him for saving his daughter. Elsewhere, a child asked Sister Santa if it was really worth burning so many resources on Light. Sister Santa replied that she just wanted to know if he was truly a priori from the start. The scene shifted to Zando returning to his hideout, reflecting on Sister Santa's words, "Capture Light alive." He started thinking, damn, is this guy really worth all that? He entered the hideout, expecting Light to have already fallen into his trap, but all he saw were his goons passed out snoring. No sign of Light anywhere. Cut to the Boost workshop. Ivan looked at Light with guilt written all over his face, telling him he was sorry for getting him involved in their mess. Light shrugged, saying they'd come after him and Monica anyway. Ivan stepped in, saying he was cutting ties with the Blackbird merchant group. That meant their income would drop to zero for a while, but staying safe was more important. Monica came downstairs, even as her mother told her to rest. She looked at her father, asking if he was giving up on making weapons. He said he couldn't do that, but he'd find a better buyer. He explained that among all forged products, weapons had a different kind of value, and she should know that. He said he couldn't keep the workshop running without making weapons. Besides, he was proud of the craft he'd spent 25 years perfecting, so he wasn't going to give up. Monica nodded, understanding his point. But before she could say anything more, her mother insisted she rest first and discuss later. Ivan turned to Light, suggesting he stay the night. Since it was already late, Light hesitated, but they insisted. He looked at Isla and asked what she thought. Isla, half asleep, murmured that he should accept, so he accepted. Afterward, Monica's mother guided Light and Isla to their room. On the way, Light looked around, saying this place had a solid business going. Monica's mother smiled, saying that everyone here loved the boss and wanted to work for him forever. Light watched her, asking if she also made weapons. She shook her head, saying she wasn't the head of the house. She added that's why she stayed out of the disagreements between her husband and Monica, saying she barely had any influence over them. Light disagreed, saying that wasn't true. He claimed that Monica talked exactly like her, so whether she realized it or not, she really did have influence. He told her to have more confidence, and that made her happy. Later, Light saw Monica standing alone, staring into space. She looked better now, and he thought she was back to her old self. She told him that the sleeping powder had completely left her system, so she asked how 𝐂𝐨𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 was doing. He replied that she was out cold, saying she must be exhausted after waiting outside while he went to get her. Monica smiled, saying 𝐂𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 was a good girl. Light looked at her hand, noticing something, and asked what she was holding. She held it up, saying it was the first dagger she'd ever made. She said her father, who rarely praised anyone, saw it and told her she had a natural talent for blacksmithing, which made her very happy. Light wasn't surprised, imagining she'd had that talent since childhood. Monica then mentioned that when she acquired her super forge skill, she thought it meant she was destined to be a blacksmith, but now she wasn't so sure. Light said she really seemed to respect her father. Monica nodded, saying yes, and explained that her father had taught her all kinds of skills and that she'd seen him make the workshop grow by bringing in more and more apprentices. He wondered if she couldn't reconcile with him. But she shook her head, saying that for her, blacksmithing was about receiving praise, making people happy, and earning money. That made her happy. But after her grandmother passed away, she realized it was more than that. Back then, she'd already sent many swords out into the world. That's when the fears started creeping in. The idea of making more of them scared her. That's why she couldn't stay in the same workshop as her father. Light looked at her, then asked if she'd ever killed anyone. Light didn't hesitate, saying he had, and explained that they were undead, but they were once human. At first, he wasn't sure he could do it. He thought maybe he shouldn't. But when the time came, he decided not to hesitate for 𝐂𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆's sake. Monica listened, then said she didn't know whether swords were good or bad now. She asked if he used swords for good. Light nodded, saying yes, but that his idea of good might not be the same as hers. He asked if she thought taking down enemies as an adventurer was a good thing. She wasn't sure, but she knew she liked seeing people strive to chase their dreams. Meanwhile, in the Blackbird merchant's hideout, Doug woke up tied in chains, looked around confused, and asked Zando what was going on. Zando told him that was exactly how he'd found him. Doug gritted his teeth, asking if he really wasn't going to do anything after being humiliated like that. Zando smiled, saying he wasn't going to let it slide. Then he looked around at the team, his expression sharp, making it clear he already had a plan. With a firm nod, he told everyone they were moving. At dawn the next day, 𝐂𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 woke Light up, warning that breakfast was ready. He came downstairs, rubbing his eyes, and tried to sit at the dining table. But before he could, Monica's little brother blocked the seat next to him, saying that spot belonged to Monica. Their mother intervened, explaining that it was Monica's designated seat, which they always kept free for her. No matter where she went, this would always be her home. Light looked at Monica, asking where she was now. She hesitated, then said she must be in her room, asking him to bring her breakfast when they finished eating. After that, Light and 𝐂𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 took Monica's breakfast outside. He saw her in the garden and asked what she was doing. She said she wanted to help her parents, and after everything that happened, since she didn't want to go to the workshop, she was taking care of the gardening. Light examined the soil, asking if they were growing anything. She nodded, saying yes, but the harvest wasn't good. He approached, checking the plants, and then decided to do something about it. He activated his Fruitmaster skill, and the plants began to grow. Monica watched, surprised, and asked if that was a skill. Light nodded, saying it was his Fruitmaster skill. She looked at him, confused, and asked how he'd made the Blackbird merchants fall asleep yesterday. He said that was also a skill, explaining that Fruitmaster allowed him to eat as many skill fruits as he wanted. She stared at him, unsure if that made sense. But before she could say anything, a loud noise cut through the air. They turned toward the workshop and saw an attack. The Blackbird merchants were back. Monica screamed and approached him, asking what he'd done. He smiled, saying he'd electrocuted them because they wouldn't let him pass. Then he turned to her father and electrocuted him too, leaving Monica paralyzed in shock. Zando looked at Light, saying they should take this fight outside. The scene cut to them outside. Light summoned his sleep fairy, telling her to put this guy to sleep. The sleep fairy released her sleep powder, but Zando enveloped himself in his lightning armor, warding off the effects instantly. He smiled, saying he was about to destroy Light along with this whole workshop. Then he sent a wave of lightning directly at the building. At the same time, 𝐂𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 watched, realizing he was using a skill called Thunder Charge. She said it allowed him to gather lightning around him and fire it whenever he wanted. 𝐂𝐨𝐵 fired another attack at the workshop. Light clenched his fists, deciding there was no easy way to deal with this. He dismissed the sleep fairy and charged forward, telling Monika and 𝐂𝐨𝐵 to step back. 𝐂𝐨𝐵 stared at him, saying he'd make him pay for the doors of his hideout, since they'd cost a fortune. Light replied that it was what he got for kidnapping Monika. 𝐂𝐨𝐵 shrugged, saying he needed her to make weapons for him. He said she had the skills to create high-quality weapons from cheap materials, much better than the makeshift junk he was using now. To prove his point, he stepped on the sword Light was holding, calling it worthless trash. Monika stepped forward, saying the craftsman who made that had put in real effort, but 𝐂𝐨𝐵 laughed, saying merchants didn't get attached to the goods they sold. Light narrowed his eyes, telling him to move his foot. 𝐂𝐨𝐵 ignored him, saying that if they just surrendered, he wouldn't have to destroy everything. Light didn't waste time, saying he'd take down 𝐂𝐨𝐵 and hand him over to the security office. Then, without hesitation, he charged. 𝐂𝐨𝐵 dodged easily. Light stopped abruptly and picked up the sword, holding it firmly, saying he wouldn't let 𝐂𝐨𝐵 trample this workshop or this sword. Then, without giving him a chance to react, he charged again. But as he got close, he collided with 𝐂𝐨𝐵's electric barrier, being thrown back. 𝐂𝐨𝐵 smiled and then fired a barrage of lightning balls. Light tried to dodge, but they still hit him, making him struggle to keep his balance. He gritted his teeth, wondering what these things were. 𝐂𝐨𝐵 laughed, saying they were charged metal balls ready to fry him. He said he wasn't going to let Light escape easily. Then he fired another wave. Light tried to dodge, but the balls moved unpredictably, hitting him again. Monika's mind lit up with an idea. She turned to 𝐂𝐨𝐵, asking her to check what those metal balls were made of. 𝐂𝐨𝐵 took a quick look and said they were iron. Monika moved quickly, preparing something before tossing it to Light, telling him to use it. He caught it, looked down, and saw her frying pan. Pausing for a second, he raised an eyebrow, asking if she expected him to make chocolate pancakes. She cut him off, shaking her head, telling him to use it to catch the balls. He didn't understand at first, but when 𝐂𝐨𝐵 attacked again, the balls headed straight for the frying pan and stuck. Monika smiled, explaining that she'd made it attract iron. 𝐂𝐨𝐵's face changed, surprised that she could do something like that. But before he could react, the pan still conducted electricity, shocking Light. Light gritted his teeth, shook off the electricity, and told Monika he was okay. His eyes had adjusted to the attack pattern, but Monika noticed something worse. His sword was chipped. It wouldn't hold up much longer. She knew he needed a stronger weapon, but there was no time to make one before she could come up with a plan. Light was thrown against the wall right next to her. He stood up with his eyes fixed on 𝐂𝐨𝐵. He told 𝐂𝐿𝐵 and Monika to get out, saying he'd hold 𝐂𝐨𝐵 off until the security office arrived. Then he charged again, determination burning in his eyes. Seeing him throw himself into the fight to protect the workshop, Monika felt something twist inside her, wondering if there was really nothing she could do. She remembered the conversation she'd had with Light the other night, and something clicked. Damn, that's it. She made a decision, then turned to 𝐂𝐿𝐵 and told her to come with her. Meanwhile, on the East Aruba Plateau, Lena arrived at her final stop, the Blue Deer station. The driver stopped, telling her the carriage wouldn't go any further. She got out, taking in the scene. The driver said she'd have to walk from here. He looked at her, surprised to see a girl traveling alone. She said she had business ahead, noticing how crowded the area was. The driver nodded, saying it was the Athena Fairy Festival season, asking if she was here for the event. She shook her head, saying she was looking for someone, then set off alone, hoping to find Dragna. Back at the workshop, Light attacked 𝐂𝐨𝐵 again, but the lightning barrier blocked him. 𝐂𝐨𝐵 smiled, deciding to spice things up. He advanced, forming a lightning sword. Light backed off for a moment, then attacked again. When their blades collided, he felt something was off. The lightning sword shouldn't be solid. 𝐂𝐨𝐵's smile said that even formless lightning could strike like steel when compressed. Light couldn't believe he could do that with his lightning, but figured a sword fight was where he had the advantage. He charged again, thinking he was at an advantage, but this time his sword cut straight through 𝐂𝐨𝐵's blade as if it weren't there. Before he could react, 𝐂𝐨𝐵 counterattacked. He explained that his blade wasn't just a sword, it was also lightning, and whether it clashed with Light's sword or passed through it, that was his decision. Light thought he could just push his sword god power to the max, and crush him with pure force. He charged again, but 𝐂𝐨𝐵 changed the game, using martial arts to push him back. Light started feeling like this guy had no weak points, but he wasn't willing to back down. He attacked wildly, throwing everything he had at 𝐂𝐨𝐵, but 𝐂𝐨𝐵 blocked every strike like it was nothing. Then Light changed his strategy. He attacked with force, using the wind pressure from his sword to launch 𝐂𝐨𝐵 through the air. That only made 𝐂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 angry. Now he wasn't playing around anymore. With a sharp look, he summoned a lightning beast, called it 𝐿𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆, and unleashed it on Light. Without hesitation, Light tried to destroy it, but it didn't move. He could barely hold it back, and before he knew it, 𝐂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 was already on top of him, cutting him with that lightning blade. Meanwhile, at the workshop, Monica and 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 peeked through the window. Monica turned to 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 very serious. She was going to save her father, and the others would forge a sword for Light elsewhere. Sister Santa watched 𝐂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 pushing Light back, and she knew everything was going exactly as planned. Meanwhile, back at Ivan's shop, all the blacksmiths were tied up, while 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 and Monica watched through a hole in the wall. Monica said they needed to act fast, but 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 pointed at the guards near the gate and asked how they were going to get in. Monica looked and asked if she still had yesterday's shears. 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 nodded, and that was all Monica needed to hear. She ran out, shouting at the guards, challenging them to come after her. The moment they took the bait and ran after her, 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 slipped into the shop. She hurried to Ivan and the others, telling them not to worry because she was going to free them. They wondered how she was going to do that. But when she pulled out the shears, they had their answer. She was almost done when Doug spotted her. Before she could react, he grabbed her. Outside, Monica was already making her move. She dropped a handful of copper plates in the guard's path and used her skill. The moment they stepped on them, their feet sank as if in mud. Before they could react, she hardened the plates, trapping them in place. She ran back inside. As soon as she entered, she saw Doug holding 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 hostage. He smiled, warning her not to move unless she wanted something bad to happen to the girl. She scanned the room and saw a stone near her foot. She made eye contact with 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 and blinked. 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 quickly appraised the stone and found out what it was. Monica picked it up and threw it near Doug's feet. The moment it hit the ground, a bright flash exploded through the room, blinding Doug and everyone else. The blacksmiths and 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 had closed their eyes in time, so they were fine. But Doug stumbled backward, releasing 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 before he could react. Ivan knocked him down and they tied him up. Monica smiled at 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆, saying she'd done well, then turned to her father, saying that Light was outside fighting for them and needed a sword from her. Ivan nodded, telling her to do what she needed because she was also a blacksmith, and he would help. They divided the work, but before they could start, they heard banging outside. The Blackbird merchant's goons were trying to break down the door. They barricaded the place and got to work because they weren't going to let those bastards stop them now. They were going to finish that sword and show what real blacksmiths could do. Monica hammered the glowing metal, sparks flying, and for a moment she got lost in the memories flooding back. Ivan told Monica there was no time to think, so they got back to work. It was her turn to finish the sword. And although it had been 6 months since she'd made one, she didn't hesitate. She still wasn't sure whether swords were good or bad. But now wasn't the time for doubt. She used her skill to forge the blade, embedding powerful properties. Watching her work, her father saw how much she'd grown. She understood now that sometimes you do what needs to be done. The sword was ready. Monica and the blacksmiths ran out just in time to see Light on the ground. Without hesitation, she threw him the sword, telling him to use it. 𝐂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 laughed, saying it wouldn't change anything, since Light was already finished. But before he could brag, Light pushed himself up, grabbed the sword, and smiled. He said that was exactly what he needed to take down 𝐂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆. 𝐂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 called him a bluff, since he could barely stand. But Light ignored him and asked 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 to toss him a skill fruit. She did, but her aim was off. 𝐂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 caught it instead, looking amused. He wondered why Light would need one, remembering that the sleeping powder before was his skill, and that a person could only eat one skill fruit in their lifetime. Eat a second, and you die. He didn't know what Light was thinking, but whatever plan he had, it was over. Light exhaled and nodded, admitting that 𝐂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 was strong but made it clear he wasn't going to lose here. He was going to be the greatest adventurer in history, and this fight wasn't where it ended. 𝐂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆's smile disappeared as he stared at him, annoyed by his confidence. Without another word, he shoved the skill fruit into Light's mouth and said he had no way out. If he bites, he dies. If he doesn't bite, he chokes. Leaning in, 𝐂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 told him to spit it out and admit defeat. If he did, he'd let him live and spare the workshop. That was a better choice than dying. Light didn't move. Without hesitation, he bit down, then kicked 𝐂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 back, freeing himself. 𝐂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 stood still, unable to understand what had just happened, while Light wiped his mouth and calmly explained that he was the fruit master. He could eat as many skill fruits as he wanted. 𝐂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 refused to believe it, but Light just laughed, saying he knew 𝐂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 would shove the fruit down his throat. Someone like 𝐂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 liked torturing people, and that predictable cruelty had just cost him the fight. 𝐂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 realized that Light had tricked him, making him push that fruit down his throat. Light turned to 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒆, telling her to appraise him. She did, then said his new skill was Torch Flame. It allowed him to set his hands and anything he was holding on fire. Light realized it was a utility skill, nothing flashy, but Xando was completely shocked. He'd gotten another one. He knew Light wasn't normal, and now it made sense why Sister Santa had her eye on him. Xando muttered that he should take Light alive, but that didn't seem very likely now. With no sense in holding back, he summoned his lightning beast again. Light wasn't going to back down either. Fire erupted around his sword, and when Xando's beast charged, Light cut straight through it like it was nothing. Xando watched, interested, and Light smiled, saying this new power allowed him to cut that lightning like it was paper. The tension rose as both got serious. Doug and his team appeared, ready to support their boss. But Xando waved them off with a gesture. He was having too much fun. Light smiled, telling him he wouldn't be laughing when he lost. With that, Xando summoned a lightning demon, and Light summoned a flaming beast, their powers crackling in the air. The Watchers wondered if Monica's sword could withstand the literal heat of both fire and lightning. Both knew that this next move would decide everything. Monica held her breath, hoping her sword would last until the end. Isla reassured her, saying Light would make it, asking her to believe. Light fixed his eyes on Monica, promising that he would win with her sword. She nodded, putting her faith in him, asking him to protect that place. They both went all out, their attacks colliding in a massive explosion. When the dust settled, they were still standing. Then Xando's body gave out. He collapsed to the ground, completely exhausted. Light had won. The others sighed in relief, but his sword broke in half again. He looked at it, hardly believing what he saw. Monica approached him, and he thanked her for the sword, apologizing for breaking it, knowing she'd made it just for him. She shook her head, unfazed, saying she'd make another, one that would suit him even better. She thanked him for keeping the workshop safe. But Doug and his team still weren't ready to give up. They tried to attack Light, but he just raised what was left of his sword, his eyes fixed on them, and that was all it took. Fear hit them, and they quickly retreated. Out of nowhere, Tigerbeard and his team stormed in, arresting every last member of the Blackbird merchant group. Wind chains wrapped around them in an instant, holding them firmly as his men took them away. He turned to Yvonne, sighing as he apologized for being late, explaining that someone had blocked the report from being released. Yvonne waved it off, saying it was fine, but the only reason he'd gotten through was because of the guy beside him. Tigerbeard looked and recognized Light, the same guy he'd met at the Wicked Dragon meeting. Seeing him passed out, he nodded in approval, saying he'd done well and should rest. Monica, finally letting the weight of it all hit her, fell to her knees, relieved that it was over. Isla knelt beside her, asking what kind of properties she'd given that sword. Monica shook her head, saying she hadn't done anything special. She just wanted it to be as strong and durable as possible, but it still broke. The only extra thing was a small charm, hoping it would help Light win. Isla wondered if that charm was what turned into the flaming beast, thinking there was a lot about skills they still didn't understand. Before they could say more, a messenger bird dove, landing right on top of Isla. She pulled the note from its leg and read it, realizing it was from Lena. Lena wrote that she was on her way to Athena, but it was taking longer than expected. Monica's eyes went wide, calling her the Sword Saint, the warrior everyone was talking about. Isla smiled, saying she was more than that. She was part of their group. The scene shifted to Lena standing outside Athena, reading Isla's reply. Her eyes darkened as she remembered why she was there, to investigate Black Swan further. One of their members had tried to kill them, and she was convinced Dragna was following Sister Santa's orders. She gripped the note tighter, determined to find proof. The city of Athena stretched out before her, and as she walked toward it, one thing was clear. She would protect her group at any cost. Her only lead was Dragna Bellberry, one of the members of Black Swan, and as soon as she got in, she would go straight for her. Somewhere distant, Sister Santa watched, realizing that Light had survived once again, but something about his future seemed uncertain. This wasn't looking good. The scene shifted to Lena entering Athena, a city of fairies and lakes. She spotted a bard livening up the fairy festival, handing out flower wreaths. He gave her one, but she wasn't here for that. The whole place was buzzing with energy, but she stayed focused, pushing forward with her investigation. If Sister Santa's secret was hidden somewhere in this city, she'd find it. She asked a couple about Dragna, but as soon as they heard the name Bellberry, their faces twisted in fear, and without a word they turned and ran. She tried again with other people, but it was the same thing. Nervous looks, hushed whispers, people walking away without answering. She started thinking about her next move when she spotted a hooded figure watching from a distance. The moment their eyes met, he turned and disappeared into the crowd. She followed him through the streets, staying on his trail until he vanished into an abandoned alley. Before she could react, He was behind her, restraining her with his skill. As vines wrapped around her, she didn't hesitate, cutting them away with her sword. And in a flash, their blades clashed. The guy had real skill, moving fast and sharp. If he were an adventurer, he'd be ranked above S, but she wasn't willing to back down. He recognized her mastery with the sword, but she wasn't here for compliments. She demanded to know who he was and what he wanted, but he cut the conversation short, saying he couldn't have a rookie snooping around like a spy. She smiled, saying she was about to show she wasn't a rookie. Before either of them could make the next move, a voice interrupted, telling them to stop. Lena turned, ready to fight whoever it was. But then she saw Flower standing there. She introduced the man as Ivan, her subordinate, explaining that she'd sent him to follow Lena because she'd been too obvious with her questions. Lena didn't like that at all, but then Flower dropped something unexpected. The investigation department was in town for the same reason, Dragna. That threw her off. She'd thought Flower was on Sister Santa's side, but Flower shook her head, saying she didn't take sides. Her job was to gather information, nothing more. Ivan interjected, explaining that tracking Dragna was key to stopping the evil dragon. They were still analyzing the dragon scale Lena had brought to the Wicked Dragon meeting. But until they had answers, Dragna was the only lead they had. Lena thought that was exactly why a department head had shown up personally. And Ivan made it clear that stopping the evil dragon was the top priority, saying it would be a disaster if that thing appeared in their city. Flower pointed out that while Lena's group was busy investigating Sister Santa's connection to all this, the department was focused on the dragon. If she kept running around asking stupid questions, she'd attract the wrong kind of attention, making their job harder. She told Lena to back off and leave. They turned to leave, but Lena refused to walk away empty-handed. She insisted on tagging along, thinking it was risky since Flower had the same kind of authority as Sister Santa, but she was an experienced investigator. Flower watched her, asking if she planned to piggyback off their work. Lena didn't even try to deny it, admitting she'd take whatever piece of information she could get. Flower agreed, but made it clear that if she came, she'd have to follow orders and not question how things were done. Lena got the message, and Ivan, on the other hand, didn't see how bringing her along could help them. Flower leaned in and whispered to him. Lena had seen Dragna's face. That was something they didn't have. With that settled, Flower told Lena they needed to eat first. The scene shifted to a restaurant. Flower ordered peanut butter sushi, and Lena was completely confused. Before she could process what was happening, she found out the dish name was actually a password. The waitress nodded and led them down a staircase into the basement. They entered a dimly lit bar where an informant was waiting, and Ivan slid 20,000 gold coins, saying they needed everything he had on Dragna, including where to find her. The informant raised an eyebrow, surprised that someone was asking about that nuisance. He revealed the truth. Dragna was the daughter of what used to be the prestigious 𝑨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 family of the city. He explained how the family collapsed because of her. She was a child who loved to dance, but when she turned 6, she awakened the necromancy skill. At the same time, the family's trading business went bankrupt, and her mother passed away. Rumors spread quickly. People started saying the family was cursed. Her father blamed her for the forbidden skill, for all their misfortune, disowned her, and sent her to live in a village. Since then, the whole city treated her like a cursed soul, keeping their distance as if even looking at her would bring bad luck. Flower pieced it together. That's why no one wanted to talk about Dragna. The informant added that the only person who'd always been by her side was Sister Santa. He figured Sister Santa must have taken pity on her since she was there when Dragna first awakened her skill. She wrote to her, kept in touch, even invited her to the Holy City. But to Sister Santa, she was probably just another unfortunate kid she'd helped along the way. Flower started thinking about where Dragna might be now. The informant casually said she was in this city. Lena hadn't expected that. She'd assumed Dragna had died when the mansion collapsed, but he shook his head, saying she was alive and doing very well. Then he leaned in, saying that if they wanted her exact location, that would cost more. Ivan cut off that game. He reminded the guy that they'd already agreed on a price, and that price included both details and location. The informant tried to act slick, but before he could push his luck, Ivan tied him up with vines, pressing a blade to his throat and demanding to know where Dragna was. Lena watched, thinking they'd crossed a line, but Flower quickly controlled the situation. She reminded Lena that she'd agreed to stay quiet. She pointed out that the informant had broken the deal first, and Ivan added that trying to trick the investigation office was a stupid move. Now terrified, the informant spilled everything. Dragna should be in the theater district now, preparing for the fairy dance. Ivan released him, but Lena couldn't shake the feeling that they'd just forced that information out of him. Flower told her she was too soft, stating that real information wasn't just lying around waiting to be picked up. The scene cut to Dragna inside her house. As she prepared to leave, her butler watched her head for the door and asked if she was going out again. She nodded, saying she'd be back soon. He didn't stop her, but warned that if she kept pushing herself without rest, her injuries would only get worse. Dragna didn't care. She'd been chosen by Sister Santa to be a dancer and would make sure she was fully prepared for her performance. The butler understood and went to prepare the carriage elsewhere. Ivan informed Lena and Flower about what the fairy dance really was. It was a sacred ritual performed on the last day of the fairy festival. Flower explained that 1,000 years ago, the fairy king protected this lake from an invading monster army. The ritual was a reenactment of that legend, a prayer for peace. She added that according to the people of this city, purifying the fairy stone kept them safe from disasters. If that were true, this ceremony might be more important than it seemed. Ivan explained that every year, daughters of respectable families are chosen as dancers, and a strong enough performance could elevate their family's status. This year, Dragna had been selected, but Lena had trouble understanding why she would stay in a city where nobody wanted her. Flower thought they'd have their answers as soon as they got in. As they stood in front of the building where the dancers practiced, they advanced to enter. Guards stopped them, saying only authorized personnel could enter, but without missing a beat, they removed their cloaks, revealing their dance uniforms, and claimed they belonged there. The guards looked at them, trying to remember if they'd seen them before, but after a moment of doubt, they decided their faces matched those of dancers and let them through. Flower thought that was almost too easy. As they walked through the building, they heard a group of girls whispering about Dragna, warning each other to stay away from her because their fathers said she was cursed. Flower noted that these girls came from well-known families, but their words were cruel. As Lena listened, she began to feel deep pity for Dragna, wondering what kind of life she must have led to be treated like that. They made their way to the rehearsal stage, and when Lena finally saw Dragna dancing, Dragna stopped in surprise as soon as she saw her. Before she could react, Ivan tied her up with his vines, making her demand an explanation. Flower didn't waste a second and asked directly where the evil dragon was, but Dragna sighed and explained that from the moment it was summoned, it had never been under her control. Flower's frustration grew as she realized this lead was useless, and she immediately decided that Dragna would come with her to the holy city so she could use magic tracking on her. Dragna refused, saying she wouldn't go now, but Flower reminded her that she didn't have the luxury of time. Dragna insisted she didn't mind going, but begged for 2 days. She wanted to stay until the fairy dance. Flower rejected the idea outright, but Dragna pleaded, saying this was all she'd ever wanted since she was a child. As Lena watched her, she saw how much this meant to her and tried to convince Flower to wait. Flower didn't budge, telling Dragna she was being selfish and making it clear that if she didn't come willingly, she'd take her by force. Lena realized that Flower's way of doing things, getting information at any cost, was her version of justice, but it didn't sit right with her. Suddenly, she cut the vines, freeing Dragna. Ivan moved to stop them, but Lena grabbed Dragna and ran through the theater. They passed him and jumped from the building, disappearing into the city streets under cover of darkness before he could react. Ivan chased them, but when he reached the streets, they were already gone. Returning to Flower, he apologized for letting them escape, but she wasn't worried. She knew they wouldn't leave while the festival was still happening, not when Dragna was so obsessed with the dance. She'd expected Lena to be obedient, but she was bolder than she thought. Hidden in the city, Lena and Dragna caught their breath. Dragna asked why she'd helped, but Lena had no answer. The scene shifted to a couple floating down the river with the bard from earlier sitting nearby. As they admired the view, he asked if they'd heard the legend of the loyal servant of the fairy monarch sealed under the enormous fairy stone at the bottom of the lake. For 1,000 years, that servant had guarded Lake Athena, but the couple shook their heads, saying they'd never heard the story. They commented on how the crystal looked magical at night, and the bard explained that the fairy dance was a ritual meant to calm the spirit of that baron, who left the fairy world on his own and chose to protect this land. They found the story interesting, but then the bard wondered aloud what would happen if cracks started forming in the crystal. The couple was confused, but before they could ask anything, he changed the subject. Meanwhile, Monica was in her workshop, focused on creating the perfect sword for light. Back in Athena, Flower sent out her birds to look for Lena and Dragna, but they returned almost instantly. Something wasn't right. She plucked a flower from her hat and watched it wither. With a discontented expression, she flipped through documents looking for answers. When she found what she was looking for, her expression turned grim. Something ominous was coming, and Lena and Dragna might be the only ones who could stop it. The scene shifted once more to the enormous crystal in the center of the lake, where dark energy swirled, gathering as the crystal absorbed it. pulsing with an ominous glow. Thanks for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this recap, please hit the like button and subscribe. If you have any suggestions or adjustments, share them in the comments. They help me improve. And if you made it this far and want more deep dives into anime that actually respect your intelligence, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for Curious Nerd. We break down the smartest strategies, the craziest plots, and everything in between. Thanks for watching.